International trade is a complex dance of imports and exports. But what happens when one partner decides to play dirty? Enter tariffs, taxes on imported goods. In 2018, the Trump administration slapped hefty tariffs on goods from China, aiming to protect American jobs and industries. Would these tariffs deliver the promised results? Or would they backfire, leaving American consumers and businesses to foot the bill? Gap 2S, fast forward to 2025, and the trade war narrative takes another twist. The Trump administration, in its second term, announced a new wave of tariffs targeting not just China, but also key trading partners like the European Union, Canada, and Mexico. The rationale? To further protect American industries from what it deemed as unfair trade practices, and to reduce the trade deficit. These new tariffs were designed to hit a wide range of products, from automobiles and electronics to agricultural goods. The administration argued that these measures were necessary to level the playing field for American companies and workers, but the global reaction was swift. Nations affected by the tariffs quickly announced their own retaliatory measures, setting the stage for a potential escalation in trade tensions. Economists warned that this new round of tariffs could disrupt global supply chains, increase costs for American consumers, and potentially slow down economic growth. As the world watched closely, the impact of these tariffs remained uncertain, but one thing was clear: the stakes had never been higher in the Gap 2S. Fast forward to 2025, and the trade war narrative takes another twist. The Trump administration, in its second term, announced a new wave of tariffs targeting not just China, but also key trading partners like the European Union, Canada, and Mexico. The rationale? To further protect American industries from what it deemed as unfair trade practices, and to reduce the trade deficit. These new tariffs were designed to hit a wide range of products, from automobiles and electronics to agricultural goods. The administration argued that these measures were necessary to level the playing field for American companies and workers, but the global reaction was swift. Nations affected by the tariffs quickly announced their own retaliatory measures, setting the stage for a potential escalation in trade tensions. Economists warned that this new round of tariffs could disrupt global supply chains, increase costs for American consumers, and potentially slow down economic growth. As the world watched closely, the impact of these tariffs remained uncertain, but one thing was clear: the stakes had never been higher in the Trump administration's tariffs on Chinese imports were a high-stakes gamble to bring back U.S. manufacturing jobs. The idea was to make foreign goods more expensive, boosting American manufacturing and job creation. However, the global economy doesn't respond well to sudden, unilateral actions leading to unintended consequences. Economists warned against the potential fallout of the Trump administration's tariff policies. Retaliatory tariffs, increased costs for businesses and consumers, and disruptions to global supply chains were major concerns. As the tariffs took effect, the economic landscape began to shift, revealing the flaws in the administration's assumptions. Tariffs act as a toll on imported goods, making them more expensive for domestic consumers. While they can protect domestic industries, excessive tariffs can spark trade wars and raise prices for consumers. Tariffs require careful consideration and a light touch to avoid unintended consequences. Proponents argue that tariffs can protect domestic industries and generate government revenue. However, the increased costs faced by businesses and consumers often offset this revenue. Tariffs can also be used as a bargaining chip in trade negotiations, but this strategy can lead to retaliatory measures and trade tensions. The global economy operates as a delicate ecosystem, and tariffs can have far-reaching consequences. Retaliatory tariffs can spiral into a trade war, driving up prices and disrupting global trade flows. Businesses face higher costs, consumers grapple with rising prices, and the global economy suffers. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930 is a cautionary tale of tariffs gone wrong. Intended to protect American businesses, it triggered retaliatory tariffs and deepened the Great Depression. The lessons from Smoot-Hawley remind us that tariffs must be used judiciously. In 2018, the Trump administration targeted China with tariffs, citing unfair trade practices. These tariffs aim to make Chinese products more expensive, encouraging consumers to buy American-made alternatives. The aggressive use of tariffs created uncertainty in the global marketplace and strained relationships with key allies. The Trump administration imposed tariffs on imported steel and aluminum, citing national security concerns. Domestic manufacturers argued that the tariffs would raise production costs, making them less competitive. International trading partners condemned the tariffs and threatened retaliatory measures. The Trump administration used tariffs as a negotiating tactic to secure more favorable trade deals. Critics argued that this approach could damage the U.S.'s reputation as a reliable trading partner. While the administration renegotiated trade agreements, the tariffs created unnecessary tension and uncertainty. The Trump administration's tariff policies disrupted global trade flows and raised concerns about the future of the rules-based trading system. The unilateral approach risked undermining the system that had underpinned global economic growth. The tariffs highlighted the interconnected nature of the global economy and the potential for unintended consequences. The Trump administration's tariff policies were presented as a quick fix for complex economic problems. However, tariffs often create unintended consequences that ripple throughout the global economy. Trade wars tend to escalate, and reshoring manufacturing jobs is challenging in a globalized economy. Tariffs lead to higher prices for consumers, disproportionately impacting lower-income households. Businesses facing higher production costs may raise prices, leading to a ripple effect throughout the economy. The net result is a reduction in consumer purchasing power, ultimately harming businesses and workers. The global economy relies on intricate supply chains spanning multiple countries. Tariffs disrupt these networks, creating chaos and uncertainty for businesses. Delays and disruptions arise as businesses navigate new customs procedures. Production slowdowns and increased costs follow. Unpredictable tariffs make long-term planning difficult. Innovation suffers as resources shift from R&D to supply chain adjustments. Innovation is the lifeblood of a thriving economy, driving productivity growth, creating new industries, and improving living standards. However, tariffs by their very nature can stifle innovation by reducing competition, increasing costs for businesses, and disrupting global flows of knowledge and ideas. When tariffs protect domestic industries from foreign competition, they can reduce the incentive for these industries to innovate and improve their products and processes. This lack of competition can lead to complacency and stagnation, ultimately harming consumers, who are left with fewer choices and higher prices. Moreover, tariffs can increase the cost of innovation by raising the price of imported raw materials, components, and equipment that are essential for research and development. These higher costs can make it more difficult for businesses, particularly smaller startups, to invest in innovation, potentially slowing down the pace of technological progress. Furthermore, tariffs can disrupt the global flow of knowledge and ideas that is essential for innovation. When countries erect trade barriers, they not only restrict the flow of goods and services, but also limit the exchange of ideas, expertise, and talent that drives innovation. This isolation can lead to a decline in creativity and a slowdown in the development of new technologies. While the Trump administration's tariff policies aim to protect American jobs, tariffs often have mixed impacts, sometimes leading to job losses. For example, tariffs on steel and aluminum led to higher costs and layoffs in manufacturing and construction. Retaliatory tariffs also hurt export-oriented industries. Tariffs are not a magic bullet and can harm workers. The Trump administration's tariff policies were met with a resounding chorus of disapproval from economists across the political spectrum. Like a tone-deaf singer at a prestigious opera house, the administration's actions clashed with the prevailing economic consensus on the benefits of free trade and the dangers of protectionism. Economists pointed out that tariffs, while often touted as a tool to protect domestic industries and jobs, rarely achieve their intended goals without creating a host of unintended consequences. These consequences, they argued, often outweigh any potential benefits, leaving consumers, businesses, and the overall economy worse off. The administration's insistence on pursuing tariffs as a central pillar of its economic policy, despite widespread warnings from experts, raised concerns about the administration's understanding of basic economic principles and its willingness to prioritize political objectives over sound economic policy. The chorus of disapproval from the economics profession was not limited to academic circles. Business leaders, trade organizations, and international institutions all voiced their concerns about the potential fallout from the administration's tariff policies, warning of job losses, price increases, and a slowdown in economic growth. Nobel laureates in economics issued stark warnings about the Trump administration's tariff policies. They argued these policies would harm the U.S. economy, raising prices and destroying jobs. Their letter in the Wall Street Journal urged policymakers to reconsider. Despite their warnings, the administration continued with its tariff agenda. Beyond the pronouncements of individual economists and Nobel laureates, numerous think tanks and research organizations conducted in-depth analyses of the Trump administration's tariff policies, exposing the flaws in the administration's arguments and highlighting the potential for economic harm. The Peterson Institute for International Economics, a respected nonpartisan think tank, published a series of reports detailing the negative consequences of the administration's tariffs. Their research found that the tariffs would lead to job losses, price increases, and a decline in economic growth, particularly in industries that rely heavily on global supply chains. The Tax Foundation, another nonpartisan organization, analyzed the impact of the administration's tariffs on American households and businesses. Their findings showed that the tariffs would reduce after-tax incomes for households across all income levels, with lower-income households disproportionately affected. These in-depth analyses, conducted by respected and impartial organizations, provided further evidence that the Trump administration's tariff policies were based on flawed assumptions and would ultimately harm the U.S. economy. The administration, however, dismissed these findings as biased and continued to defend its policies. As the Trump administration's tariff policies went into effect, empirical evidence began to mount, painting a grim picture of the real-world impact of these measures. Data collected by government agencies, industry groups, and independent researchers showed that the tariffs were indeed leading to job losses, price increases, and a slowdown in economic growth, just as economists had predicted. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that manufacturing employment, which the administration had promised to boost through its tariff policies, actually declined in the months following the implementation of the tariffs. This decline was particularly pronounced in industries that rely heavily on imported inputs or that were exposed to retaliation from trading partners. The Consumer Price Index, a key measure of inflation, showed that prices for a wide range of goods and services increased following the imposition of tariffs. These price increases were particularly noticeable for durable goods, such as cars and appliances, which rely heavily on imported components. The International Monetary Fund, a global financial institution, downgraded its forecast for U.S. economic growth in light of the administration's tariff policies. The IMF warned that the tariffs would weigh on business sentiment and investment and could lead to a protracted period of slower growth. The Trump administration's trade wars hit American farmers hard, causing uncertainty and financial hardship. Tariffs wilted markets, leaving many farmers questioning their futures. China retaliated with tariffs, shutting down a critical export market. Demand plummeted, prices tumbled, and farmers struggled to break even. Subsidies offered a lifeline but didn't solve the underlying issues. The agricultural sector, once a pillar of the economy, was caught in a trade war. Many farmers faced difficult decisions, including selling land or exiting the industry. The Trump administration's tariffs aimed to protect American jobs but often backfired. Tariffs introduced inefficiencies, raising costs for manufacturers relying on imports. Higher costs were passed to consumers, making American goods less competitive. Uncertainty from unpredictable trade policies hindered long-term planning. The result was job losses and eroded competitiveness in American manufacturing. The Trump administration's tariffs on imported washing machines, touted as a victory for American manufacturing, provide a stark example of how tariffs can backfire, leading to higher prices for consumers and unintended consequences for the broader economy. In 2018, the administration imposed tariffs of up to 50% on imported washing machines, primarily targeting South Korean manufacturers LG and Samsung. The goal was to protect American companies like Whirlpool and GE Appliances from what the administration deemed unfair competition. However, rather than leading to a resurgence in American washing machine production, the tariffs primarily resulted in higher prices for consumers. With foreign-made machines now more expensive, domestic manufacturers raised their prices as well, enjoying increased profits but offering consumers little choice but to pay more for an essential appliance. Moreover, the tariffs had ripple effects throughout the economy. The higher prices for washing machines contributed to inflation, reducing consumer purchasing power and leaving households with less money to spend on other goods and services. This decline in demand rippled through the economy, ultimately harming businesses and workers in other sectors. The American soybean industry, once a powerhouse of agricultural exports, became a prime example of the collateral damage inflicted by the Trump administration's trade war with China. Like a field of soybeans scorched by an unexpected drought, the industry withered under the weight of retaliatory tariffs, leaving farmers struggling to stay afloat. China, the world's largest importer of soybeans, had been a vital market for American soybean farmers, purchasing billions of dollars worth of soybeans annually to feed its burgeoning livestock industry. However, when the Trump administration imposed tariffs on Chinese goods, China retaliated with tariffs of its own, targeting American soybeans and other agricultural products. Overnight, the Chinese market for American soybeans evaporated, sending prices plummeting and leaving farmers reeling. The Trump administration, in an attempt to stem the bleeding, offered billions of dollars in subsidies to soybean farmers, effectively using taxpayer money to offset the losses caused by its own trade policies. However, these subsidies, while offering a temporary lifeline, did little to address the underlying problem of lost markets and shattered confidence. The soybean saga served as a stark reminder of the interconnected nature of the global economy and the unintended consequences that can arise from protectionist trade policies. The Trump administration's tariff policies left a legacy of eroded trust and heightened uncertainty in the global trading system. Like a crack in the foundation, the trade wars threatened the principles of cooperation and predictability in global commerce. Unilateral tariffs created unpredictability and unease in the global marketplace. Many countries questioned the reliability of the United States as a trading partner. The actions also undermined multilateral institutions like the World Trade Organization. The long-term consequences of this erosion of trust remain to be seen. As the dust settled on the Trump administration's trade wars, a sobering reckoning emerged, revealing the high cost of protectionism in a deeply interconnected global economy. The tariffs, far from protecting American jobs, led to job losses, higher prices, and increased costs for businesses. The agricultural sector grappled with lost markets and shattered confidence. The promise of a manufacturing renaissance proved to be a mirage. The true cost of protectionism will likely reverberate for years to come. Navigating the complexities of the global economy demands a shift in perspective, away from protectionism and towards cooperation. Trade should be a win-win proposition, driving growth and prosperity for all. Strengthen multilateral institutions, foster dialogue, and address shared challenges together. Prioritize environmental protection and social responsibility. Embrace a cooperative, sustainable global economy. And there you have it. When tariffs meet miscalculated math, the result is economic chaos. If this stunned you as much as it stunned top economists, hit that like button, subscribe for more real talk breakdowns, and drop a comment. Was this a blunder or a strategy? So, was it just bad math or is there a bigger game at play here? Either way, one thing's clear, these tariff moves are shaking up more than just spreadsheets. If you found this eye-opening, smash that like button, subscribe for more unfiltered takes, and tell me in the comments, is this economic naivety or political strategy? Catch you in the next one where we expose another headline that's not as simple as it seems.